Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Call of Duty World League presented by PlayStation 4. We're excited to get another week's worth of gameplay underway here for Division B. I'm joined by the wonderful Merc and Chance to kick things off. And it's worth mentioning, you know, last week we had some results come through. Obviously some big games. Optic versus LG was one of the biggest. And
was it though? Yeah, no, it wasn't.
Maybe not based off score. But in terms of storylines, it was one that we really were excited for. But what was your biggest takeaway from the start of the Division B?
Obviously, I think for LG, they had a very tough week in week number one. They probably played three of the top four teams in the eUnited, Rise and Optic. Yep. Obviously, though, they lost to Optic and Rise. To me, LG, they can't lose this week. You know, you and I talked about it last night on the Pro League Challenge. I feel like LG has to go perfect this week. Optic's the real deal. I think Unilad is definitely a contender for the top four. I mean, we're excited to see how these teams play throughout this second week.
I think Unilad is also going to be the team to look at. That was the upset potential. They're right in the prime spot to do it because you have a Luminosity that's shaky. Who knows what can happen? The opportunities are endless, and I think that's the first match of the day as well. It's going to be Unilad versus eUnited at the very least. So, yeah, we should be able to see some fireworks and get some European love in the top four.
Yeah, Unilad have been very impressive. Obviously, we talked about this a little bit last night. Obviously, they lose their star player in Scraps, one of the best players in Europe, but then they seem to get better, which is a strange concept. But we'll see. As you mentioned, first game of the day, it is going to be eUnited versus Unilad. And then from there, you know, we have Optic Gaming versus Complexity. We'll see Mindfreak in action against LG. Fellow Australians, Tainted Minds versus Rise. And then Mindfreak once again to close things out against Optic Gaming. And you look at Mindfreak's day here, Chance, and it's definitely not an easy one.
No, it's an easy day. I think from our perspective, from the fan, it's going to be a lot of 3-0s. I think today is the bloodbath day. Of course, it really depends on what Mindfreak shows up. Yeah. They do have a tendency to play a lot of teams close, so it's kind of up to them. But like Rise versus Tainted Minds, let's be realistic. Optic versus Complexity, maybe the S&D will be entertaining, but outside of that, it should be a bloodbath. But again, that first match of the day is where the actual fireworks lie.
Do you see any potential? Well, I know if I ask you this, you're going to say no, you don't see any potential upsets. But if there was a game outside of the first one where you could see an upset come, which one would you both look at?
Mindfreak LG?
That's what I was going to say. Probably Mindfreak LG. The way Mindfreak's played Hardpoint, that's one that LG's been trying to work on, trying to get better at. And then if they can steal an SD, which has really been sort of the big thing. I mean, once again, LG, they're not playing that well right now. You know, like they're trying to get better and better. It's taking some time, but yeah, I think that's definitely the first one. But it would be sort of, if you're an eUnited fan, sort of this sort of eUnited story that we're used to. You beat Rise, sort of #1 team in the world, and then you were like to lose a match today against Unilad, just so back and forth. You never know what to expect with these guys, but eUnited should be able to take the first match. It'll be a good one, though.
I agree. I think that was like the other. I was going to say Unilad maybe as well, but again, Mindfreak, it just depends on whether or not they show up, or not if they show up, how good they're going to be. Because again, the inconsistency as a team is just going to be the key. The other two matches are not going to be upsets. There's simply just no way Optic loses to Complexity. I would be mind blown. And then if Tainted Minds beats like Rise Nation, I won't say I'll quit my job because I like my job, but like there's just no way.
Yeah, theoretically, a lot of those upsets shouldn't happen. But hey, who knows, right, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I think the other match, maybe you could look at as Optic Complexity, but I think we were pretty much all disappointed on Complexity's performance last week. I thought they were a team sort of on like the Unilad. We thought they were going to be on the bubble fighting for maybe that fourth spot if like LG or eUnited was to, you know, lose some very close games, but Complexity, they did not look good at all last week. I think Sensor had some of the worst stats we've ever seen in a pro league throughout a week. They definitely need to step it up.
Yeah, they most definitely do. Well, that's going to conclude everything for the pre-show. Of course, action commences here in Columbus, Ohio in about now it's time. But until then, here's Hot Mic.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of Hot Mic. I'll be your host, Maven, and I'm joined by three of the best players in the Call of Duty World League. To my left, we've got Slack from Luminosity, Clayster from eUnited, and Slasher from Rise Nation. Guys, let's get right into the show. So we're going to kick it off with the CWL debrief, where we're going to be talking about kind of your guys' last week of matches here in Division B. And then we're going to talk about, some of the matchups, some of the stats, kind of break things down for people at home. But let's take a look at the TCL Clip of the week. This is a big three-piece by Scump to make sure Unilad can't push this to a Game 5. Clay, anything that stood out from you for this clip?
Yeah, I mean, I think Unilad had this wrapped up. You got 43 seconds left on here, and you only need 22 more to win. It all started with the first person that challenges. I don't think you get to see it, but honestly, you really just need to wait for Scump to push Hill right here. Scump turns, kills Wuskin, and then turns and kills Shawnee. I think that should just never happen. We were just talking about it. They should have just waited. They could have won the game if they let Scump push the Hill, but instead they all challenged.
Slash, are you a little bit surprised how Unilad opted to play that?
Yeah, they should have just waited for him to run in the hill. It would have been a free kill. And you saw Optic was spawning across the map. They would have won the map.
What did you guys think, though? So I know maybe not as exciting for you guys, but there were a lot of fans out there that were excited to see Optic play for the first time. Were you a little bit surprised, Slack, how close that series was for their first series?
Definitely, but I think you're going to see that with the way the map vetoes are. Obviously, they're going to be forced to play submachine gun maps, and then teams that are solid on an AR map, it's going to have a close series, in my opinion, and I think that'll probably happen a lot.
Yeah, well, we've seen a lot of game fives, a lot of extended series for sure, just within this division already. But let's move on. I want to take a look at the overall standings right now in Division B. We're very early in this. We've only had 1 week of action out of the 4 total weeks you guys are going to be competing. But let's look at the standings, kind of talk through it, and just see if there's really anything that kind of stands out from these guys. Because I think there were, I don't know if like startling performances, but I'll ask you, Slasher, when you take a look at the 8 teams, is there anything that really surprised you, or sort of what you expected through week 1?
I'd say this is pretty much what we expected. The top 4 is top 4. Unilad and Complexity falling behind. Maybe LG having 2 losses, but I mean, they're fairly new, so it's not too surprising.
That's true. And we'll talk, the specific matchups a little bit more. But yeah, I think for me, sort of what you expected, at least within the top 4, and we'll see whether Unilad or Complexity can start to steal some spots. But let's move forward and talk about team by team. So we're gonna kick it off from the bottom, move our way towards the top. Let's start off with Tainted Minds. So Tainted Minds come in, they're 0-4, but they've had some close series. I mean, do you think they've certainly looked more competitive than maybe Epsilon in Division A?
Oh, I definitely think they've actually been more competitive than Epsilon in Division A. I think Epsilon started picking it up towards the end of their weeks, but I think Tainted Minds so far, just even their shots and their play style and stuff, you can tell they're pretty confident. I think they should probably at least be able to get a couple wins in these next 2 weeks or so. It's something about Tainted Minds. I think they still struggle in Search and Destroy. Like, I know one of them refuses to put away the sniper, even though he's been using it for 10 rounds.
Every round of Valk.
Yeah, every round.
I couldn't believe it. Every
and it's little
round.
things like that, and I think that comes with experience.
Well, if we go back a couple of years, the thing that used to really maybe surprise top European or North American teams from the APAC region would have been the Search and Destroy. Tainted Minds are sitting at 0-6 right now in that mode, Slasher. Did that surprise you a little bit?
I would have guessed it would have been better at Search probably than other modes, but after watching them play and running a sniper every round of Valk S&D, it's honestly not that surprising.
Well, Slack, let's talk about another stat that stood out. When you take a look at their overall team KD, they're below a 0.9, and I think it's somewhere around like a 0.85, 0.86. Overall as a squad in all game modes. So what does that tell you?
They're getting smoked. That's all it is. I mean, going into all these respawn modes, I think JP's put out stats like if you're getting outslayed, you're losing in this game. I mean, it's just very rare that you see a team get outslayed for the win. And with them, like you said, Clay was saying, being underexperienced and stuff like that, I don't see them pulling off many wins, getting outslayed, dropping 0.8 as a team. Well,
let's see if they can find some wins. Let's move on to the next APAC team, sitting in 7th place. This is going to be Mindfreak. So they're 1-2. Their only victory was over Tainted Minds. They did push Complexity to a game 5, but it's funny. I said on Trading Shots that I tried to light a fire with the guys. I said, I'm sick of saying the same thing about this team for years. Like, oh, they're going to come play people tough and they're still going to lose the series, and we'll be like, all we'll talk about is how they were competitive, how close they were. And the guys told me that we've literally been watching your clip before the matches, but then it's been funny because that has literally been the story of them so far. Like, with the series, there's Complexity, and then they had another one where they took the game 1 and lost in 4. Clay, why is it seem to be the same result with Mindfreak all the time, and they play people tough?
Man, I don't know. Our apartment is actually right in between the 2 Mindfreaks apartments, and we've been hanging out with them a lot, talking to them, and they just don't seem to be in the right place mentally, I think. I think that it's wearing on them. Like, they are competitive. Like, they play every series close, and they bring it, to a game 4, to a game 5, but they struggle to close out the series, and I think that's wearing on them at this point. It's kind of like a mental block thing.
Well, years of it, I imagine.
Years of it, literal years of it. So, who knows, man. I really want the APAC region to do well, and especially having that second APAC team in Tainted Minds. It's like, all right, now Mindfreak, you're not the Australian team anymore. That's Tainted Minds. Like, you've elevated to a pro league team now, and they're still struggling. So I wish them the best, man. I want them to put it together so bad.
Well, I thought we had it. What was it? I think it was their second week of stage 1 where they came in and had a really nice week, and I'm like, all right, maybe that's the hump. Maybe they're finally over it, and then here we are again when it gets to the next stage. So we'll see. I hope they come to life. I'd love to see them make a run. I'd love them to be in the conversation for the top 4, but right now I think it's tough to argue that
they just got to stop choking.
Yeah.
They look like the better team most series they play, to be honest.
they should have 3-0'd us.
Yeah, and they choked. They should have beat LG twice. They were up 5-1 Game 5 at one point, and I watched them throw away every single round.
You
They had,
reverse
Yeah,
Mindfreak
at
twice this year,
Birmingham,
didn't you?
they took us game 5. They were the only series we lost to other than Splice. Or we should have lost to, I should say. And they choked. I mean, they were up 5-1, like Austin said, brought it back and won 6-5.
That's why I think I agree almost with Clay. It's like it's a mental thing. It's like part you have to get so used to crumbling that you just sort of crumble. Like it's tough. But the one bright spot has been, I think Shox has something like a 1.25 overall. Like he's been great. But again, that's another conversation we've had before. I think back to the Pro League last year where Shox was like, oh my God, he's going to be on a pro team in North America soon. Like he's playing so well, and then.
I think that last year, the whole thing where they were kind of rumored, 2 of them to go to Cloud9 with Aches, I think that was the breaking point of this team. I think that if those 2 players that were getting offered that C9 spot, they went, those 2 players would be in the consideration for top 15 players in NA right now. And the fact that they stayed together, I think that was kind of like, I don't know if they're really happy with that, you know? I mean, I'm sure they made the decision themselves to stay, but, you know, I don't know if they think that was the best decision with how things have gone since then.
Losing just starts to wear on you, I think.
It does.
All right, let's move forward and talk a little bit about Complexity. The next team, they're 1-2. The order is the same. It's like Mindfreak's only wins over TM. Then you go to Complexity, their only wins over Mindfreak. So basically, the teams that are struggling in the league are beating each other for the most part. Slasher, is there anything specifically when you've watched Complexity that you think they need to work on?
They just need to figure out how to replicate their gameplay on LAN.
They just need to bring their
Straight up.
routers.
Straight up. I don't know. I don't know what it is with this team. I mean, it seems like Dashy does pretty well still on LAN, but I don't know. They just can't replicate their gameplay. Like, they played us kind of tough, but then other than that, I feel like they haven't been playing as good as they should have been.
Well, I feel like that even I joked, I think, on Trading Shots, which I think will be live at this point, but I believe I joke that they're like the North American Mindfreak. Like, they play people tough and then fall a little bit short. Like, what was the last? It was at Seattle, right, where they started out really good on Friday, and then pool play they struggled on Saturday. Then they were supposed to be. Who did they gift to get into? I remember they gifted somebody in the bracket. Was it you?
Us. Yeah, no, us against us. They took us to a game 5 and then choked it. They went
E6
5-3
I got you.
and beat them. They should have beat us at Seattle, and they should have had their spot in the bracket. But
they still would have been in, but they got 3-0 by E6.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
They literally got 3-0 smoked and lost their pool play spot
was it.
after looking so good just to crumble.
And then, not that Sensor has ever been a phenom statistically. I don't think that's ever something that's been described of him. But, you know, he did talk a lot, and I love it. I mean, he gets people talking about maybe winning champs, getting to the pro league. Like, it's been good to watch him sort of come back, and it's been improving step by step. But I think right now he has something like a 0.7 overall in the pro league, and yikes! Like, that is it. How can you win? You can't win respawns with somebody who has a 0.7, can you?
Nah, it's really hard to win respawns with someone who has 0.7.
Theory did it.
Yeah,
That's true.
they played a
true.
Valkyrie, and we were sitting in the back warming up, and they were playing like in their match, and they played a Valkyrie, and I think Doug went like -20, and they still won the map, and he's like, "I'm getting smoked, but you guys are the best." It's like, like, do you really want to be saying that?
Thanks for the gas.
Yeah, you know, it's just you need more out of Doug. He's playing well online. He's definitely improved this year a lot more than people thought he would. I think he's in contention for, you know, being a top 10 sub, being a top 15 sub, when people thought he wouldn't even get close to that.
Well, I think that's why it's a good story because, I don't think many people thought he was going to be on the map this year, and now he's gotten to the pro league, and I don't think he's going to win champs, but it'll be curious to see if he can improve because he really was brutal the first week. Sorry, Doug. Next up, and this is a team. This was an interesting conversation because I don't know if you guys watched Hot Mic a couple weeks back, but when talking about this Unilad roster, I spoke with Scraps after he left the team, and I thought Scraps was basically going to say, like, yeah, you know, they're going to struggle. You know, they just lost me. He was the exact opposite. He's like, they've been playing really well online. I think this team has improved, and I saw people like Rated and other European players tweeting that they think they have a shot at top 4. So, like, did you see anything from them that makes you think they can make a run?
Yeah, I mean, they have potential. Like you said, I talked to the European guys, too, and I was like, what do you guys think of them? He goes, if they play like they've been online, so they're going to smoke everyone. And they've been playing well. Like you said, they could have took Optic to a game 5. That one little mishap doesn't happen. And then first Cold, they look well. You know, I think if they continue to do, you know, their thing, you could see them maybe in the top 4, but they got to pull off some big wins here versus some of the top teams.
I think, Clay, for you, they're running, I think you're their first match. I don't know if they're the first for you. You're playing them pretty early. Is there anything specifically you're looking out for against that Unilad squad?
I mean, the squad Unilad, we play them in the division or stage 1 last 2 weeks. And it's one of those things where I think they were super competitive, and I think that they play at a pace that when they're in rhythm, they're really hard to beat. I think they struggle to reset sometimes and get back into the game once you kind of put a stop to their whole holds and put a stop to their pushes. But honestly, this Unilad team, I've played them a lot, and I expected them to be in like the top 8 contention of like all these open tournaments, of all these events, and they seem to struggle at open events. And I think they were like 1 or 2 wins away from qualifying for playoffs at stage 1. And
they were 7-7, like around 50% map count, which is what they're on pace for.
Exactly,
right
and I honestly think they're good. Probably, you know, the 3rd best European team, maybe even 2nd, depending on how Splice looks, you know. And it's one of those things where if they put it together, they're really, really scary. I just think that especially adding a new player and maybe not being as comfortable with him will affect that. But, you know, we're not taking them lightly at all because we know that they're a really talented team. We need to play our best to be able to beat them.
So I want to hear from you a little bit, Slack, because don't get me wrong, it's not the same scenario at all, but you know they lost to many, maybe considered their best player when Scraps left. You're sort of going through maybe a similar thing with Octane leave. You're trying to figure out like how difficult is that when you have somebody of that caliber leave and then you have to figure it out with a new squad.
I think, like I was talking with the guys before, I think it's really a position thing. Like he ran our main AR and we're flip-flopping for Formal. I think in this game it's fair to say Formal is behind in far as, you know, what to do and put himself in better situations to get kills and make the, you know, job easier for the team. And right now it's been a real hard learning process through online scrims, through land practice. And going into this, we were just looking to improve on the little things that we've been talking about every day. I don't think we were really expecting to maybe, you know, come out and fry Optic or fry Rise, but we were going to use this league as a learning process, and obviously we want to qualify for, you know, the further events, but this is all just putting the pieces together of the puzzle for the rest of the year, and that's what we're going to try to do right now.
Do you think it was a little bit easier for Unilad having maybe a sub swap out versus having an AR? Like, is it that big?
I think so in this game. Personally, I think if I were to flip-flop a sub player, I could, you know, easily run around the map with him. As far as an AR, getting him in the positions that benefit the team and, you know, help in different situations, it's a lot harder.
Well, let's talk more about LG then. You guys are 2-2 right now. I guess the first thing I kind of want to hear from you guys, just from you, is the biggest takeaway about your squad just coming out of that first week.
We definitely found out that we're a lot better at some of the submachine gun maps than we were at the more brained map, I guess, like Gibraltar. Playing out the game, and we got smoked on that. Playing Rise, we played pretty tight versus them, and I don't know. I think we got a lot to learn, but we should be fine after some time.
Well, let's be 1-3.
Yeah, let's talk. that was the first match, right? I was thinking, oh God, eUnited came to play, and then you reverse sweep them.
Yeah,
but I do want to hear a little bit about this match. Like, what was your guys' mentality going into this? Because, well, first let me tell you about the other side, just to give you a little bit of a background here. Like how I knew this moment. I know it's just a quote-unquote a league match, and it's not, you know, playing in the grand final. But I can tell you without question that to Scump on Optic, this was incredibly important. I mean, I remember having a conversation with him. It was Dallas of last year when he won MVP, and at one point he said to me that night, we're out at the bar hanging out. He said something along the lines of like, "I'm glad I won MVP just to like shut Formal up" or something. I was like you guys are teammates. But like they had such that Kobe and Shaq thing kind of that like they just want to prove they're better than each other. Like I get it. But like knowing how he felt that way when they were on the same team, I can't even fathom what it was like going against him and then on the other side of the stage. Like, did you guys share a little bit of that? Just really, was it a super important match to you guys?
I mean, yeah, obviously it's important, but I think it, like you said, it meant more to Formal and the Optic guys than it did like a rivalry thing with Sam. I don't think we had any really bad blood going into it. Obviously we want to win. They took the win, but it's like, it wasn't, I don't know, I wasn't that, I was upset obviously, but I'm like, you know, this match is a league match. As long as we improve and continue to do well at Anaheim and champs and playoffs, that's really all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, this match will be inconsequential if you end up beating them at Anaheim or at champs.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And Scump I had a conversation with him before the LG match, and he was telling me, he's like, man, it's weird, I'm nervous for this match. And it's like, you know, you would think that with how much we've been playing, and like, you still do get nervous sometimes, and it's like, this match is super important. It means a lot to them to prove that they made the right decision. And honestly, you know, it does matter. It does matter. I'm sure there was some butterflies.
Oh yeah, no, I'll be honest. We went to a listen-in to kick it off with Optic right at the start of the game one. I was like, oh, LG's in trouble. Like I heard them calling out, and I was like, oh god, this is the COD Champs final. Like just their comms right off the break on Gibraltar. I was like, this is the yikes. But let's. I do want to talk about one thing. You know, you said there was no like bad blood necessarily with Sam, but obviously he was really hyped up, especially after like the plus 20 performance after game one. So I do want to take a look at the clip if we can, because I think Sam said this is like the first time he's ever got on his feet and like yelled.
That's just not true. You just straight up lie.
So you've seen him do that. So this is him screaming.
I've teamed with him for 28 events.
Now can we pump the caster audio?
In that game one,
here we go.
Up LeBron-like numbers.
So this is funny. So I said the LeBron-like thing. A bunch of people tweeted me like, "How dare you compare him to LeBron?" I was like, okay. This is what I found was comical. So one, I wanted to know what Octane yelled at you guys, which unfortunately ended up getting bleeped out. But I was curious. So we went back and played it. Can we play this now from the commentary of the players?
Continue to come. Let's go.
Communication is really.
But almost at the same time, hear what Krim says.
Oh my! Is that you, LeBron James?
Like literally, like we ran them by each other, and like I said it right when Krim did. I just thought that was kind of fun.
That's great.
But that might be painful for you to watch, buddy.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
We got you. I just thought that was interesting. Now, I do want to go back in time now and talk about your guys' first series. So there had to been not a lot of pressure, but you guys, it was your first time on LAN. I'd heard the scrims weren't going as well as you maybe liked them coming into this. And then you started out in an 0-2 hole over at eUnited. Like, where was your guys' mindset at that point in the series?
I was like, wow, good work. But I mean, I don't know. Going into it versus United, I was very confident we could reverse sweep them. We've done it before, and we play these guys all the time. Every series is always close. So I definitely didn't give up. Going into the CTF, we ended up winning that pretty convincingly, and I knew we had the series from that point on.
You know, it's a big win considering it's the new roster kind of coming together. But let's move on to the next team. That'll be eUnited, who we just described your painful first loss. So that's actually your only loss. You're 2-1 in third place right now. Kind of similar question that I asked him just after the first week. How's the squad feeling?
You know, like he said, we've played LG like 8 times this year. Like, we played them so much, and the only time I think we've ever beat them was the first event of the year in the first round of bracket play. It's like the only time I think we've beat them. But every series is super close, competitive, usually 3-1, 3-2. We've had so many round 11s versus them, it's insane. And so that match meant a lot to us to win that match and to go up 2-0 and then have an opportunity to basically win at third map. There was like a stalemate play where we kind of messed up on the play. It was kind of heartbreaking, you know, and then going into the fourth map, they just shredded, and fifth map, another round 11, game 5 loss for us. We're kind of used to the losses round 11 now, but we knew we had to turn it around. We played Mind Freak, played them really, really tight, ended up grinding that series out and winning, and then the series versus Rise obviously ended up coming out on top, which meant the world to us because
I'm sure
this whole year, every stage, every week, we've gone into the weekend with like the worst attitude. We're in the hole. We're 2-5. We're 2-7. You know, it's always we have to do something to keep like stay in the hunt. And now finally we went into a week with a winning record or a weekend with a winning record, and we're feeling good about it, man.
Well, I do want to take a look at one of your plays. I think it's an 8 streak we had from you. I believe it was on London Docks, and I've jokingly compared you to J.R. Smith, which is funny. But I only meant it in the way that like you can be really streaky. Like sometimes you'll struggle and then you go on like this 10 streak where you just dominate for a while. J.R. Smith probably sounds like far more of a diss now with what happened in game 1 of the Grand Finals. I didn't mean it that way when I first said it, but can we take a look at his 8 streak and kind of talk through it? Because you kind of went off here.
This shot right here, man. Gone.
That's gone.
That's the bar right there, baby.
That is the bar. But this is when you guys were still down 1-2. What works for you on a map like London Docks?
You know, right here, I was just playing my angles really tight. Got a lucky kill on the kid climbing up the ladder. I know I'm on streaks right here, so I was expecting Danny to kind of play around the docks right there. That's why you see me throw a stun, like to check it. And then I'm like, all right, I need to start rotating over to the hill. I'm only 100 points off. I shoot a dead body. Gunless, who's one shot right here. And I'm not sure if it shows the end right here, but I actually have a really nice shot on TJ laying down behind the box where I could see like his foot right here. And I was like, oh, that's his foot. And I ego challenged so hard right here and then run at it.
I think you needed like one more bullet.
Yeah,
you might have got that.
I was feeling myself heavy right there. I was like, I'm going to gun him out of the window right here and ran out of ammo and died. It was a good play.
Still, it was a really impressive win because I think I was joking with you off camera, but I said like, we were talking about in trading shots just where teams are. And I was talking about how like, United went through, it was like a roller coaster for me because you guys start out 2 up on LG. I'm like, oh man, they're going to start off great this year. Then you guys get reverse swept. I'm like, oh, here we go again. They're going to start slow in this stage. And then you're down 2-0 to Rise. I'm like, okay, this is what I expected. The Rise about to 3-0, and then you bring that back. So like you guys are all, it's like you have 2 different teams sometimes.
Welcome to United.
Yeah, right? It's like Jekyll and Hyde, man. Like I never know what I'm going to get.
Which one are you going to You don't know. You don't know.
It's insane. And one more real quick before, how wild, what is that stat about Pristini?
Oh yeah, we're like all year. When he goes positive in hardpoint or even, we're like 28-2. We've lost 2 maps in hardpoint all year where he goes positive. So, and that's insane. I'm like, dude, at this point, sit in our spawn. Go 1-0. Go 0-0. We'll win the map.
Yeah,
no, come on.
That is crazy, though, right? 28-2. All right, well, enough on eUnited. Let's move to Rise. We've got a couple teams left. Slasher, you guys are sitting at 3-1 right now. I actually have a kind of an overall question for you. So obviously, well, not obviously, but I feel like championship teams have to share some similarities. I guess I'd like to hear maybe the difference or comparison between like your championship MV team and what you feel you currently have in this Rise Nation roster.
That's tough. I feel like my championship MV team we got along better outside of the game much more than my Rise team. Like my Rise team, we're a good team. We get along, don't get me wrong, but like my MV team was like best friends all the time. And I mean, I don't know. I think our Rise team has a little bit more talent on it, but.
No, I get that. I mean, this is a team. It was kind of formed to be. I mean, I'm not going to say like the Golden State Warriors, but he brought you in. They already had a very good AR, and they brought you in just to make it even more star-studded.
It's funny you say that because our group text is Golden State Warriors.
Okay. Well, then I guess I am saying it. I am saying that.
I always joke too. I was like, I'm the KD of COD. So, I mean, that's like the joke.
That's what that's what I thought of when you were joining. I'm like, this is just, it's unfair. They already have like a top 3 AR, and they're bringing in just what many consider the best. With this. Is there anything, I'm trying to think that, like, it really, does it feel the same in a way that, like, I don't know what I'm trying to ask exactly. When you have, like, a team that you know is capable of winning a championship, like, is it just, like, a feeling that you get, like, you know every tournament you can win?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see much difference between this team and, like, my previous MV team when we were championship caliber team. Like, you just go into every event knowing, okay, if we play our game, we'll win. Like, simple as that.
Biggest difference is Gunless dyed his hair. And if you dye your hair, you fry. So.
Oh, no, trust me, I heard all about that. I spent a couple rounds during an Optic series talking about dyeing my hair blonde, my beard blonde, and no one really enjoyed that. But I noticed it was him, and then I missed the first day because I wasn't feeling well, and I saw it was him, and then the Tainted Minds, like half the roster had their hair dyed blonde, and I actually thought about doing it with the beard. I'd look like a crazy person.
You would.
But maybe I should try it. All right, but do you guys still, after the loss to eUnited, I know it's a recency bias, but I'm assuming for you guys, you still feel like you're the best team in the game right now?
Oh, yeah, we do. I mean, I think we're not as good as we should be right now. Like, we still have room to improve, but I think we're the best team in the game still. I don't think that loss really, you can't take too much away from that. Like, we were in the position to win. We threw it away with a couple little mistakes.
Well, I don't think anyone takes over, like, best team in the game until it happens at a tournament.
Yeah.
Like, until it's, like, playoffs or until it's at a LAN. Well, you mentioned that you think you have some things to improve on. Is there anything specifically you think you guys are struggling with?
So, I think our respawns have been a little too close lately. Like, our hardpoint is not as good as it should be. Our CTF, like, we've lost a couple now, so I think we need to get better at that again. And, yeah, I think our S&D is looking good, though.
Well, I think the one stat that stood out to me is, what was it? I think I was looking at hardpoint, and, like, the leader in KD for you guys right now is Looney. Which,
yeah.
I mean, is he capable of it? Sure, but isn't that a little bit odd? Like, typically, it's you were gunless.
Oh, yeah, no, I think right now I'm underperforming, definitely compared to how I've been playing the rest of the stage. I think Pierce, too, as well. I think me and him need to step it up. I think Dan need to keep doing what he's doing. We'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, Dan's been making plays, man.
Yeah.
You know, watching some of the hard points, he's one of the smarter
against
players.
LG,
So
he won us
annoying
that
to
same. Yeah.
He's just always in the right position, always being a nuisance, always being in some weird off-angle corner lane down. And like, you make him one shot, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna start throwing an 8, and he just insta challenges you, and it's like, man, what is going on here? He's just always making the right plays.
No, that's awesome.
Another thing too to take away from this is the least worried I've ever been after a loss. Like, I don't know if you saw me after a loss. I actually looked like I didn't care, which is probably a first.
Well, yeah,
for me.
I saw your face with the recent NVT championship team, but after every loss, I thought you were getting punked.
Oh yeah, and completely different. So I think we'll be fine.
No, yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys will be just fine. But the loss had been tough to swallow. So right after the reverse sweep happened, the next series was obviously the Optic LG one. I know for me, I think we all can agree we expected this Optic gaming team to be very good. It's almost impossible that they weren't. But I'll hear from you after. But did it change your mind after the LG series? Like, because their first two matchups were kind of close, but the LG one, that was a bit of a stomp.
I don't know what to think of the Optic gaming team, to be honest. Like,
okay.
I don't know if they're just inconsistent or what it is. They play better to better teams. Like, they play up to their competition.
That's the thing.
I have no idea what it is, because the Tainted Minds and eUnited, they should win Game 5 with eUnited, and that would have got scary. And then LG, I was like, all right, this is going to be the closest series I probably have had, and they smoked them. So I don't know what to take away.
It could be one of those things.
Yeah.
There's been many players, I think, guilty of kind of playing to the competition. Do you have any thoughts? Let's say, what about Octane Methods coming in? Clay, how do you think they perform?
I think they got insanely lucky with the meta change and how the meta changed to favor having, you could consider Octane and Methods 2 of the top 3 ARs right there. Like, to have 2 of the top 3 ARs on your team in a 2 AR meta where, like, 70-80% of the maps are 2 bars or bar SCG, I think they got super lucky with that. But I also think that, it's a honeymoon period. I think that, Optic, Seth, and Krim really want to prove themselves again. I think Sam and Methods, having the opportunity they have on Optic, want to prove themselves as being a part of the green wall. And I think right now these stages, like these league matches, are where they're really going to shine. I think they're going to struggle really hard at, like, playoffs, Anaheim, and champs. I think that the nerves are going to get to somebody like Methods a lot more than people think. Because the green wall, when you're on Optic, there's so much pressure put on you to perform well, dude. I've been there. And there was absolutely, it's the most pressure I've ever felt in the world, like, to play well. Like, even if we do well, but I don't do good, like when I was on Optic, I was getting roasted. And I'm sure that they're going to start experiencing that as soon as they start losing maps, as soon as they start underperforming, and that's going to get to them. So if they keep winning and keep doing well, I think they're going to do well. But as soon as they drop like 1 league match, 2 league match, maybe drop into losers at Anaheim, like, it's going to fall apart.
Well, I think even Methods, we were just chatting on DM about something, Hot Mic or what it was, but he even mentioned, yeah, like he has like 1 average map, and like his just mentions are flooded. I'm like, welcome to Optic.
And I even kind of heard them bickering at each other a little bit. They were back in the back scrimming, I think on Wednesday, and Methods was kind of going at Krim. He's like, you're just arguing just to argue. And it's like, well, y'all are already kind of going at each other. Yeah, it's like, if you're already going at each other, like, is that really going to work out in the long term, you know?
That's what's interesting, too, to think about, though. It's very different, like, personality dynamic than they had before.
100%.
Because, like, Formal's pretty like laid back and can take criticism and like do his own thing, but like you don't really get that with Methods. And I mean, what's Octane like as like a teammate?
He's
like,
pretty laid back.
He's pretty open, yeah. I mean, you can tell him what to do, and he'll listen to you for the most part if he respects you.
That's probably good, because if he had if he was Slasher, this team out.
Wait, people said that about my last team. We haven't had a single. I have sat back and listened to Looney and Gunless argue.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I've been like, yo, guys, we gotta chill. All good on land.
Dr. Slasher.
Yeah, I had the wig on everything.
No, but I want to know though, for you guys, have you? I know we're going back to talking about Rise a little bit, but have you guys hit a period yet that you had to kind of fight through? Just talking about personality dynamic on the team?
Personality-wise, no. I think it was just play-wise. Like at the beginning of Seattle, we started off really slow. We weren't playing well. I was honestly more disappointed in myself. I wasn't going at any of my teammates. I was like, wow, I'm the problem. Like, I make people worse. Like, I was talking to people. I was like, dude, I just make people worse. I don't know what it is. And then we started playing well. I was like, all right, nah.
Thank God.
As AR players, we're the hardest on ourselves, I think. I mean, like, when even just yesterday, we were playing in the Pro League Challenge, and I had a really bad map on Valkyrie, and I just started kind of getting, like, super frustrated and super pissed off. And then it's like, I'm not mad at you guys. I'm mad at myself for going -20 again on Valkyrie, you know? It's like, when you're performing poorly with an AR, all the pressure's on you, and, like, you're your biggest criticizer. Like,
well, do you have a method, like, you guys have been competing a long time, like, when you, obviously, I think it's good that you're hard on yourselves. I mean, that just makes you better, but, like, do you have a method to not take that out on your team? It's got to be hard.
There's not really a method to it for me. I mean, I yell at him. I was like, you're not watching my cuts, or you're not watching my flake. And then Press was like, dude, don't blame us. You're getting destroyed. I'm like, all right, you're right. I'm just frustrated with myself. You know, like,
That's great.
You just gotta apologize for it within like 5 minutes. Be like, all right, I'm sorry. I'm just angry. Like, I'm frustrated. I'm not mad at you guys. I'm mad at myself.
No, I get like that even with like my girlfriend. Like, if I'm in a bad mood about something, and it makes me like, takes like 5-10 minutes. I'm like, oh, I'm just being a dick for no reason.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, my bad.
Sorry.
That really was just me being an It just happens. Like, it like takes you a little bit of time to like realize you're doing that. But let's move on a little bit. We talked a bit about obviously the first week of matchups for these teams. I want to talk a little bit now. Go back to Division A and kind of reflect on what we saw in Division A, because we didn't get I think because of Memorial Day, we didn't have a hot mic to kind of follow up on that division. So now you three get to hang out with me and chat. So can we actually bring up? Do we have the Division A standings that we could take a look at for a moment? All right, so there's the overall stage. Just a reminder to you guys kind of where everybody sits. And we don't need to spend as much time maybe, but I do kind of want to go through it and just get your guys' kind of feedback on these squads. Same thing. Let's go bottom to top. We do not need to spend much time here, but Slack, do you think Epsilon's getting a win in this particular division with how competitive it is?
No.
16% map.
I feel like what I've heard is they just don't care. They play other games. They just sit.
You got to throw them a bone, right? One. They might get one.
Who's it going to be?
But against who?
Well, maybe one of the teams.
This is going to be competitive the whole
I know,
way
but maybe one of the
end.
teams becomes mathematically impossible to make it, and they're just like, who cares? And the Epsilon's like, this is our chance.
Well, think about LG in stage 1. Remember, you guys were so far. Well, you and FaZe were really far out in front, so you guys started playing different maps and just trying out stuff. And you had I think you went to Game 5 like 2 or 3 times in a row, just because you were trying different stuff. So maybe that could happen.
I mean, it could.
See, they reverse swept EG to last stage, and that ended up allowing us to qualify for playoffs.
That killed that EG.
Yeah, Dave's running a sub now, not an AR. Dave can take over with an AR.
Oh, God.
He's running a sub.
I haven't watched it.
Dude, that was actually, what was it? It was the first 2 things I heard when I got here for Division A was I heard Raida was explaining to me why Joe is not running an AR, and it just made my head like hurt thinking about it. I mean, it's been working, but it was just weird to me at the time. And then I heard Dave's running a sub. I'm like, what the hell is going on with these European squads? Like, everyone's just trying whatever. I mean, I don't know that there's any role change that could be done to fix this team right now. I think it's more just an overall roster. let's go. Let's move along now to Splice. They're sitting at 3 and 4. They obviously haven't been looking great with Josh coming on the team. There's been some shining moments, but Clay, did you for instance, they're 2 and 9 in search and destroy right now, which is abysmal. Why do you think Splice is struggling there?
I think that not having Tommy on the team is a huge mistake. I mean, obviously they know more about their team than I know, and they made the decision. But this is like didn't they drop Josh to pick up Tommy, and then they just dropped Tommy to pick Josh back up? Like,
I thought he left.
Or yeah, he left.
Yeah,
but regardless, it's the same thing. And I think that like when Tommy got dropped, I DM'd him. I was like, dude, in my personal opinion, I think that's a really dumb move. I think Tommy brings so much to the team, and he wasn't even performing that badly. Like if you had like a 0.5, 0.6, like okay, I can understand that, but he wasn't performing like that.
It was from everything I've heard, it was not a performance thing. It was an internal. Just a couple players bumping. It might have been Vance and Tommy bumping heads. I don't remember exactly what I heard, but like, yeah, it was an internal thing.
And you kind of go through those players, and it's like you can't get rid of Vance off Splice because he basically put Splice on the map. He's been on the team for what, 3 years now, basically, and it's like then you start.
I feel like he's been underperforming the most, though.
Exactly.
I wouldn't get rid of him.
Exactly.
He has been underperforming.
And that would be the thing for me is like I would have replaced Vance on that team instead of Tommy, but Vance is Splice, and so it kind of created like like Looney is Rise. You're not going to drop a Looney off Rise. It's that kind of thing where he's just bonded to the org at this point. It's like, are they really going to get rid of him? And I just think it was a mistake dropping Tommy.
Yeah, and I mean, it didn't. Has Josh even been? He hasn't really been struggling that bad. At least in their searches, like he's like I think he's the highest KD on the team, like 1.05. He's been planting their bombs. Like he's been doing a lot of the dirty work, but I just don't know that they're good enough. I think when I talked with Scraps on Hot Mic a little while back, I mean, he basically said, like, who's getting all the kills on this team? Like, who's it going to be?
Yeah.
And they're struggling to find it.
Disgusting.
Jerd is that guy right now.
Jerd has been nasty. He had to win their first series with the search, he had like a 1v4 and a 1v3 back-to-back rounds or something.
So they're 2 and 9, and one of them is with 1v4 and a 1v3 back-to-back.
Yeah, right. Okay.
The problem.
Yeah, let's talk about the next team. Echo Fox. So similarly to Splice, who are 2 and 9 in Search and Destroy, Echo Fox are 3 and 10 in Hardpoint. Slack, like with this roster, I mean, there's a lot of talent here. And Hardpoint is typically the mode that's easiest to learn because you guys actually scrim it all the time. How are Echo Fox so bad at Hardpoint?
I don't know. If you were to tell me Saints' worst game mode right now is Hardpoint and they're 3 and 10, I don't know what you're doing. You're clearly not abusing the power that he has to bring to a team. I mean, they have Temp, they have Aqua, they have Saints, and I'd say Bryce brings the brains, but like I don't know why they're not good at it. It seems from me what I've seen is they can't close. Yeah, they've been there so close and they don't do it.
They have 3 really good players in like Aqua, Temp, and Saints. There's really good slayers, and like you said, Bryce brings the brains, and so you should be able, like with the 3-1 split right there, be able to just smoke in Hardpoint. And I honestly haven't watched enough of their matches to know what's going wrong, but it seems that Echo Fox is just staying in like perpetual mediocrity this year.
The one thing I do like remember about this team though is that Aqua and Paceno, I feel like their teams have never been good at Hardpoint. I don't think they have ever been good at Hardpoint.
That's right. Well, think back to AW. It was what, Search and Uplink. They got kind of.
I don't know if they're the problem, but there's a reoccurring theme there. Their teams just aren't good. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if they turn that around, like they'd be good. Like that's what's so frustrating. Even if they were playing with how good they've been in, I think their Search in CTF, last I looked at it, I can't remember off the top of it, but it was around 70%. They were winning those. So if they get their Search to like, or sorry, their Hardpoint like 50-50, 60%, like
they would have like won Seattle almost.
Right?
They were really good in S&D. Like they beat us in both searches in the CTF, and then they took us another S&D off us the next time too.
They got fourth, being poor at Hardpoint.
I know.
I think that Bryce is a really, really smart player, but oftentimes he overthinks and tries to like go to step 10 when he needs to get past step 3 first, and that kind of messes up his team flow a lot. And now teaming with Tyler Fellow, who's teamed with Bryce for a long time, he kind of echoes the same thoughts. He's like, yeah, man, he's always just trying to micromanage like every little thing, always letting you know like, hey, can't come here, can't come here, can't come here. It's like, no, just don't even worry about that. Just like risk it, look here, and get your kill, you know?
Well, I joked with Fellow and I were teaming the other day. I made a comment, something along the lines of, you know, I know Strat is involved in Search and Destroy, but sometimes just having one vocal leader and calling something, just everyone doing it together is like enough. And he DM'd me, he's like, yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah. Like overthinking and overcalling out, like, that's the problem Optic had. I was talking to Seth the one time. He's like, there's so many things being called out. Like I didn't know what I was okay to hit. He's like, sometimes if I just ignored them and flew at something, it worked out. Like, you can absolutely over communicate, especially in something like Search. All right, let's go on to the next team. So this has been FaZe, obviously kind of interesting. They start out 0-3. Everyone's kind of worried about this team. Is it just what do you think, Slasher? Is this a stage 1 hangover, or is there a bigger problem with this team?
I think there's a bigger problem. I don't know who the problem is. I think everyone just points at replays, and I don't think that's it right now. Like, I think Chris has been playing pretty well, at least from what I watched in Stage 2 so far. I just think they're inconsistent, and Stage 1 was their weekend where they played well.
I mean, it's the Zuma mantra. You live by the first blood and you die by the first blood, you know? And that's how he plays. And that's how he played when I was on the team. That's how he's always played back in Ghost.
But he hasn't been the inconsistent one.
No,
He's
he
dropping
hasn't.
50 for the L.
You're right. You're right. And I think that, you know, I love this team. I love this FaZe team. I love all these guys. You know, I've won championships with, you know, 2 of these players, 3 of these players. And to look at this team and be like, what's wrong with it? In my opinion, if you win an event like Stage 1, with like coming all the way through losers and winning 2 best-of-5s, you feel that confidence, but now you have that stock in your team. Like, why not go after somebody like you or Methods? Or, you know, so like, why not try and make a change to like pivot off of that win that you might not deserve? I mean, yeah, they earned it and they went through that bracket and they played out.
They weren't the best
But
team
they
there.
weren't the best team, and so why not use that first place stock that you have to pivot?
I said it multiple times. I thought they were going to pick you up. I thought for sure. I thought Slasher on FaZe was going to be a done deal. Like when they were, even before, like I think I said that in the middle of their Stage 1 playoff run. I was like, they'd be crazy not to after this. But
I mean, even maybe like look at Priesta and try and maybe get a better flex. Like they could have went after Pierce or something. You know, like FaZe has a lot of money. They can buy out players. And
when it's all said and done, though, like, I mean, they're obviously, this is the team they have for the rest of the year, and I'll still say every tournament they go to, they have a chance to win. Just because when they get on like that, Stage
yeah,
playoff,
when they're on fire, they're
awesome.
good.
they're good.
Well, I've heard with Zuma, like I've heard multiple people tell me that he's always played the game wrong. Like he plays the game wrong, but for him it works. Or maybe different. Is wrong the wrong word? Like
wrong is the wrong word.
He plays it different, but like it just works out for him. I mean, statistically,
It's that confidence, aggressive play style that was learned kind of in AW that he kind of takes into the other games that everybody else is like, no, you shouldn't play like that in this game. But then it's like, okay, if you're dropping 50 on London, it's like, who are you to say that?
I don't know how he does it. To be honest, if I tried to play like that, Doug's KD would be looking good.
Absolutely. All right, well let's get on to the next team. So let's talk a little bit about Team Caliber. They're 4-3. Their first matchup's going to be against Splice. I guess I just overall, you know, Enable kind of joins the team slacked. Any thoughts on this roster as a whole?
Kenny's back in form. I mean, from what I've seen, I saw a crazy 4-piece he got to beat Echo Fox.
Oh, that was one of the more wild.
I've seen some crazy stuff. I think if he continues to play well, they can look good. But I don't know. It's different having Enable. I think they have like it's kind of like the Optic thing. They're kind of blessed with the slow team, Enable and Accuracy, both like slow players. But I heard he's running a full-time sub now, so I don't know.
That's what I was going to bring up. So they announced on Twitter that there's a role change now.
Oh, I didn't
Enable is the main submachine gun, and Pharaoh is their flex now. And I don't know how many times Enable has to run a sub before people realize he is not a submachine gun player. Like, I love Ian to death, like, but he's tried so much to be a sub player, and he's not. He's an AR player. He needs to have an AR in his hands.
And he's not going to, well, what'll be interesting is, like, I don't know. Like, sometimes Kenny's going to be so much faster than with the sub. Like, there's no way, the way Enable plays, they're not going to be in the same map. It's just hard to, like, imagine, like, the pacing of that. But, I mean, it can work. We've seen teams work where you have kind of a slow sub and a fast sub, and it works out. But it's, I don't know. It's hard to think about the pacing difference.
So far they're doing pretty well for, like the new
scrims?
team. No, just in the league. I mean, they're top 4 right now. I think they're going to make it out. Like, I'd put them up there right now. So far it's looking okay. I don't know how the role change is going to work out for them, but they should get top 4.
All right. Well, let's keep moving on through here. We'll go a little bit quicker. This show's about to be so long. We're going through every single team. Let's just real fast then. Thoughts maybe slacked about what you've liked from Envy.
Envy's look good. I think they have some work to do in some certain modes. I think they 3-0'd, was it FaZe in the first match?
Yes.
Then they started looking shaky for a while. I just don't know.
Their final day was really good, though. If I remember right, I think they went like 2-0 to close it out with like 2 really impressive wins.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just need to see the consistency from Classic and Decimate. I think that's the 2 eyes I look at. I think you'll always see Kyler doing his thing, and same thing with Chino. He's going to have 2 minutes on the hill and get his kills. But if the other 2 continue to play well, I think they can be at the top, but I don't know.
Well, let's get on the next team. We'll start cruising through these. I actually do want to spend a little bit of time on EG. I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts, because I know for me, and I'll say this about eUnited too, I thought Seattle was a very weird event. Like, just with people figuring out the meta, all the different team changes. Like, it was a very weird event. I mean, the losers bracket looked like the winners bracket at times, and I didn't think eUnited, like EG's finishes were necessarily going to be what we saw the rest of the year. But then EG come out, Clay, and they go 5-2. They're 19-10 in map count. They've looked really solid. Are you a little bit surprised?
I mean, I'm not necessarily surprised. like how Silly plays on this team now is how we were telling him to play for the past 6 months.
Have you looked at his search stats from your stage 1 to now?
No, I haven't.
He had like a .65 on your team in search in stage 1. Now he has like a 1.3 or something stupid. Like literally, it's like double.
And it kind of, it's like the thing where people are always like, drop Clay and pick him back up because he'll have an extra .2 on his KD for that. And it's, I don't know if it lit the fire under him or it made him finally realize playing with like other players, like, oh no, this is how everybody plays. I need to play like this. I just wish he would have played this good when he was on our team. Like he would have played at the level he's playing at now. And then you have players like Assault who are going off and who are literally just locking down a lane on the map. I mean, they're performing how I think they should. Like, they're a really good team. I think people overlooked them going into Seattle. I mean, we even overlooked them going to Seattle. We thought
everyone was overlooking them. But I think now they're the best team in that division.
Really?
If they could stop choking, I think they should be #1. I mean, they beat Red Reserve. They're the only team to beat them. They choked that Splice series. I don't know who their other loss was to. Does anyone remember?
Oh, I forget. Okay.
But I mean, I think right now, personally, they're the best team in that division, and they're the most prepared.
I think it goes back to they're like Rise. They're like the second best, most well-rounded team. They're
pretty good at
They're good at Surge.
everything.
They're good at CTF, and they're good at. I mean, there's no weakness really. If they clutch up, they're going to be good.
And it looks like Bevels has been doing his homework with the squad.
Yeah.
I saw some tweets just back and forth with Scraps after they beat Red, and they were like, couldn't believe you're doing this. He's like, yeah, we watched how you guys played, so we ran 2 bars there, and you guys couldn't deal with it. And I was like, I like that. I like that.
Ace also said, he's like, oh, we're counter-stratting you, but they've ran 2 bars like the whole time, so you just counter-stratting everyone? Like, wait, or is that just your strat?
It's a good point. It's a good point. I like to think that there was homework done, and they've been playing very well.
You do see Pat in like smoke spots and stuff though on maps, so I mean they are doing their homework. I don't know about the bar thing, but their S&D's on point.
All right, well, we heard your opinion then on who you think the best team in that division is. I'm curious from you two. Is it Red Reserve or EG? Do you have right now?
It's tough. I would give it to Red Reserve though. I think that they're just playing phenomenally. I think that they have that aggressive hype play style that when they're rolling, they are impossible to beat. Like I've played them a couple of times this year where it's like, what? All right, well you lost. Just here, take it. You know, take the win. And it's one of those things where they just are so in your face that it's hard to like reset or slow down as an AR or get set up.
I think they have the higher ceiling out of the 2 teams, but I think right now, if I were to pick who would win an event, I'd pick EG. I think they're the more consistent team at the moment.
Interesting. Well, I know I was talking to Nameless and I was having a conversation in the green room, and we were kind of curious. Since they play, when you take a look at something like their hardpoint engagements, like they're much lower than like a lot of teams. Like they play a lot slower, they play a lot more setup based, and like that works against. I guess I consider this division that has like a lot of talent, but not like the top talent. Like I'm curious how EG will do against let's say a Rise or an Optic. When people are going to be outskilling them that much.
If they didn't throw away that game to S&D, they could be your Seattle champions.
That's true.
That's the one thing about EG right now is they throw games away sometimes, and it's usually S&D.
I mean, the thing about Red Reserve though is they have the best listenings by far though. I love listening to Red Reserve. I can't understand a word, but they all can. I think it's hilarious. I love it.
All right, well, one last thing. Do you think the top 4 stay the same? So when we took a look at it, it was what, Red? I already forgot somehow.
Red, EG, MVTK.
Yes, thank you for having better memory than me. So do we think that stays the same, or does FaZe more than likely make a run?
I think the only person that would be able to is FaZe. I think those are probably the 5. I mean, but if you look at this division from top,
all 7 are within like one game.
First to 6. You know, Epsilon's kind of down there.
Well, no, Splice is '7, and they're 3 and 4.
Oh yeah, Splice is '7.
They're one game out,
so
basically.
1 through 7.
Yeah,
it's basically the tightest race we're going to see. I hope it keeps up like this.
I do
for
too.
The next 2 weeks.
I do too. It's like Division B last time with your guys' crazy run. That was a lot more fun for me as a caster in Division A. I'm like, oh, so I know the top 4 on day 1. Cool. I want to see some crazy matches. All right, well let's move on to our next segment. It's going to be Pro League Declassified. We're going to kind of talk about the upcoming matches. So this is going to be the schedule moving forward for you guys this week. I mean, I thought when I looked at this, like, God, it's not like Division A. Like, I was like, I can call. I think every match is pretty easy to call, at least for Tuesday. Like, is there anything that stands out that, well, I guess eUnited, Unilad, that's the big one. That's the big one.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, man. Unilad's good, being first match of the day, first match of the week, especially with them kind of trying to prove something. We just came off a big win. It's one of those things where that match is going to be tough. I think the toughest out of that entire day.
And then for like LG, you got your hard matchups out of the way. So your big one, kind of those bubble teams, Unilad and Complexity this week.
You guys had some crazy.
I mean, we had the hardest first round.
Oh yeah,
we played
Optic and Rise.
United
Optic
the first week. So
so I think coming out like 2-2, is it as good as you could have hoped? Maybe not, but like it's still okay. Just considering how hard your schedule was.
We were like, if we come out 2 wins, we're happy. Like, I mean, we're a new team and we've barely had any practice.
And that's a grueling schedule. For you, for Rise, anything that you're looking forward to this week? Rise Optic, right?
I think the big match is Rise Optic, yeah. But before that, we played the 2 Australian teams, so hopefully we get back into that form. Play against Optic on Thursday.
And just can go out and bury them and not leave those series
hopefully.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm trying to think if there's any that I mean, really, you play Optic as well, right?
Yeah, I'm excited about that match because if things keep going the way that they're trending, then that match will be for first place in our league. So in our weeks, because if they don't lose at all and we don't lose anymore, then our match versus them will hold the tiebreaker if we beat them. So for first seeds, and that does matter going into Anaheim, having a good seed in your pool because of how the pools are broken.
Well, I know I wanted to talk Anaheim a bit on the show, but like I opted not to because we don't know enough yet. Just only because like I feel like stuff could shift around a little bit where people are. And
well, I mean, my team on eUnited has been getting consistently screwed over by pools because even going into this year, we had the 4th most pro points in NA, but they gave that 4th spot to Splice, the #1 European team. So we were getting like the 2nd pod every time in all the pools, and so to have a 1st or 2nd seed going into Anaheim would be really nice for us to be able to
that'd be your best start.
It will literally be our best start in pools this whole year. So that's really what we're gunning for, is to do well this week and hopefully take first seed going into Anaheim.
All right. Well, I was going to talk about top 4 stay the same, but I don't think we really need to right now. It's just we're a weekend, and
it's hard to tell.
I haven't seen enough from Untitled or Complexity to think they're going to make a run.
The improvement, even Mind Freak.
Yeah.
It's possible. It's possible.
With the way the league is set up, man, teams improve rapidly over these weeks in the league, and so like this week is going to look a lot different than last week.
That's what I mentioned earlier. That's what stood out the most from stage 1. That Mind Freak week 1 to week 2, and all of a sudden I was like, oh god, okay, they're going to be top 4, and then.
They were good.
Didn't happen. All right, let's move on. We looked at some of the matchups coming up. I do want to get into player intel now. All right, so I guess I want to hear from Slack. You just had when was your 21st birthday, right?
Yep.
What'd you do? Anything crazy? What was your first drink?
Went out with some buddies, had a Red Bull vodka.
There you go. There you go. Turning up.
Oh my God.
Oh, I didn't see this yet. That's incredible. I don't know how I didn't see this yet, but that's amazing. Happy 21st birthday.
Shout out to the mods.
So we're going to get into dangerous territory here, probably for Clay and I. But
what did I do?
We're going to tell 21st birthday stories. So my 21st birthday was in college. I tried to eat an entire loaf of bread before I went out because there was a bar called The Village that had dollar shots, and I knew that my friends were going to try and hurt me. I ended up punching my best friend in the face that night and woke up at 3 p.m. the next afternoon.
It's all 21st.
I believe I had a lot of fun. How was your 21st?
Same for mine. So mine was in college.
Let's keep it as PG as we can here.
Same for mine. Mine was in college. I went to West Virginia University, which is kind of known as a huge party school.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
We're big on day drinking there, which means like when you wake up, you start drinking.
It's fun. It's fun.
So I woke up at about 10 a.m. on my birthday, 21st. Started drinking by then, and woke up in my bathtub at like 4 a.m. And I won't give you the details, but it was not pretty. Bathtub. Don't really remember what happened at all during that day. My friends all said they like lost me, and I don't even know how I got home. But hey, I'm here today, so I ended up surviving that one.
Yeah. So kids, drink responsibly.
Yeah, drink responsibly.
21st birthdays are just get through it. You don't have a choice. You're usually crazy. Slasher, you probably were like watching Hulu.
Nah. I actually, on my birthday, I was in a casino.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. That's good. That's good. I like that. For some reason, I pictured you watching like Suits seasons 1 through 3, just sipping on like a pina colada.
The only good seasons, to be honest.
I actually said that because Kat just started watching it, and I'm like half watching it with her, but it's been pretty good so far. All right, next up, we've got Clay. Oh God, this one I do remember. Clay, this popped up on Twitter. What is that?
Something from my 21st. No.
That's exactly what I looked like in the bathtub.
This is my luscious locks. I mean, I used to have some really nice hair.
Same.
I mean, you can tell. The glasses needed some work. Definitely, I upgraded on the glasses and the shirt style. But this picture, so I've been using Facebook for like a lot longer than most people. Like I got it on it like when it's still you had to be like in college to even get.
I was out the first night. I failed a test the next day because it just blew up and like everyone was signing in.
And so I have had Facebook forever, and I've been uploading pictures on Facebook for like 15 years now. And so they always have that memories thing, like where every day it's like, oh, you have memories on this day, and I always scroll through them and I find pictures like that, and I'm like, what was I thinking? And I just like zoom in on it, post it to Twitter just so everybody can have a laugh with me because I think it's hilarious. It's like, what was I thinking? You know, like literally, what was I thinking? You know, it is fun to kind of go back and look at your past styles or how you used to act or how you used to be and be like, wow, I've grown a lot from point A to point B.
Certainly. I hope we could all say that. Yeah. All right. Slasher, so I grew up in Northern California as well. I didn't know this was a thing, but our producer, Chris, also is from Northern California. Apparently it is. So you're from Northern California, close to the Bay Area. We need you to explain the proper usage or like the difference between hella and hecka, because apparently this is a thing.
Yeah, it is a thing, but see, I think my usage of the words were just because hecka was not a cuss word to my parents.
So is that where the difference came from?
That's where I started using hecka. I use them the same way. Like now I say hella, obviously, but I would just say, yeah, I have heck of homework to do tonight or something like that. I wouldn't get in trouble because it's not a cuss word. So.
Oh, I definitely, I only lived in California until I was 12, so I don't really remember how I spoke at all. But that would have been something. My parents were really religious.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, hell was absolutely a swear word.
Yeah.
Like, damn was, like, damn's fine now, but.
So that was, hecka was just my way of saying without getting in trouble. That's how I did it.
All right, you were a good kid.
Yeah, tried to be.
You were a good kid. All right, next. Community questions. Let's get into these. All right, so Slacked, I do believe you are going to have the first community questions. So this is for you specifically. Why do you turn up against better teams but underperform against not so good teams? I didn't know if that was really a thing for you, but this is what someone wants to know.
I guess if that's a thing, I don't know.
Come on, man.
I feel like I perform the same against most teams. Obviously, those, top teams you want to perform the best against, and you focus up more against them. So, I mean, that's really, I guess.
Well, I just thought it was interesting because we actually did talk about it a couple times with different teams, like kind of playing down to competition.
Well,
I wonder why certain people suffer from that and some don't.
See, I have a theory on this. So it's not necessarily playing down or playing up. It's that the better teams are more consistent in the way that they play. They play the right way.
Yeah,
they
they're
do the
more
right thing. They're more predictable.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you know how to position yourself to exactly counter this guy in this spot.
Yeah.
Or you know exactly how they're going to be rotated.
Because I used to swear I was better against the good teams and trash against the bad teams because I could always predict where the good teams are going. I'm like, if I'm in their shoes, I'm going here, and then that's where the guy is.
And then I'm playing E6, and Abizi is just sprinting everywhere, one shot,
like,
challenging everything.
No
and I'm
idea
like,
what's going on.
I don't know what this guy's doing, but he's shredding us. He went plus 20. He's doing something right, but it's like it's a lot easier to predict the better players, or not better, but the more.
The game's just more straight up.
Yeah, the game's more straight up.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, no, I like that breakdown. That actually resulted in a much better answer than I expected. That's that makes sense though. You're kind of used to positioning. You guys play each other all the time. You usually scrim only pro teams.
Exactly.
So maybe when the lesser competition comes in, it's like, what the hell are you doing? All right. For Clay. So this is we want to know what has brought about the rivalry with Looney, because well, we had the, we're gonna show it in a little bit. We had the interview and stuff, but this started before that. You guys have gotten into it a couple times now.
Yeah.
See, I see it as you're just very, very competitive people.
Yeah.
Kind of similar in a lot of ways.
Super competitive. I mean, it's one of those things where, like I even said in the interview, like I'm not one to talk about being a really bad loser. Like I'm really not. I take losses some of the worst I've ever seen. Like, I genuinely have to like distance myself from other people for like 10 minutes after a loss.
Why don't we roll? Let's show the interview. Let's show the interview, then we'll talk about it afterwards, just so you don't end up breaking down the entire thing. We'll see it right from your mouth, and we're pissed.
And we saw things.
This is on Looney's birthday, Clay.
I
felt bad about that.
I totally forgot.
Well, me and Danny had some choice words for each other. He's definitely the sorest loser I've ever played against. I popped off over here after we won, and then he kind of like took offense to that. He's like, best team in the game, you're talking shit about my team. And to be honest with you, it's like, you just gotta like lose in grace, and I know I'm one to say that because I'm a really bad loser as well, but I don't understand why he has to talk to me every time afterwards and like try and come at me and literally like says almost fighting words. So, I respect Danny as a player. He's won championships, and I think he's won 2 this year, and honestly, it's impressive, but
YouTube
I
boxing
don't take
match, I'd pay to see that.
especially after we win a close series.
Looney's
like
probably scrappy as
good
hell.
games with them.
I'd
I hope you don't take it
off.
personally, but he definitely did.
All right, so now that we've seen the interview, kind of talk about a little bit of frustrations from both sides.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not one to talk, but so the way I've always seen it is after you win or when you're in the game and you're on your side of the stage, that's what you want to do. That's like you pop off, and that's in game. I still consider that in game. As soon as you start walking across the stage to say good game, that's when you relax it. That's when you calm it down, and then that's when you kind of say good game. You respect.
That's when you got mad at Formal last year, right? When he goes, "You effing suck," as he walked by.
As he fist bumped me. Yeah. So that's where I kind of take offense to it, and it's the same thing happened at Birmingham this past Birmingham. We 3-0'd them, and as we were kind of walking off stage, he kind of was talking trash to me, saying, like, how long has it been since you won? You're washed up. Like, you get carried. Like, saying stuff at Birmingham. And, like, I get that because he ended up apologizing because he thought I started the shooting TJ's body thing. But actually, TJ started it, and he manned up and apologized for that. We're okay. And then after we won here, like, in the context that it was, you have to understand how big of a win that was for us. Like, obviously, it's just a league match. Obviously, it really might not matter to either one of us going into the latter stage. But for us to go down 0-2, then get to a Game 5, and not only get to the Game 5, but win a round 11 Game 5, which we've lost more than any team in this game. We're literally like 4-11, round 11 Game 5s. And to win that, especially against Rise, like the best team in the game right now, it really meant a lot to us, especially after choking a reverse sweep to LG. It meant a lot to us to go into the week and having that kind of win.
Well, I heard, we knew it did because I heard you roar.
Yeah, screaming, literally screaming. and then the same kind of thing happened. Like, I yelled, said what I said. Like, that's why you scrim CTF, like, blah, blah, because they would refuse to scrim us in CTF. I think they played us in it. We played them like 6 or 7 times before we came in here, and they played us once in CTF.
Played you twice. You're one of the only teams we actually played. So.
Because we gave you kind of like.
Don't you guys not play? Like, let me. Sorry to interject, but like, I feel like you guys have been a very good CTF team. Do you view it as like you don't really want to scrim other teams in CTF? You don't want to help them improve?
That's
is that
exactly
what it is?
So
I figured.
Our worst game mode probably was hardpoint, so we spent the most time practicing hardpoint. CTF, like, before I even joined this team, they were the best CTF team. Then I joined the team, we're still like the best CTF team.
So like, I can get that, but I guess it didn't bite you in that particular series.
Well, and it even came down to like a return, like that return play. Like, y'all could have easily won this.
Oh yeah, it was just like one mistake thing. So like people blow it out of proportion, but I've done this in the past too, and it's worked out.
Okay, so to kind of,
I get it. I wouldn't want to help other teams either.
Yeah.
Like, I totally understand that.
To kind of explain a little more, though, is like I popped off on my side of the stage and then walked over there and was like, yeah, we picked St. Marie because the spawns were messed up on St. Marie S&D. We knew that it would kind of throw a wrench in there. That's why we wanted to play a map that maybe you weren't comfortable on. He's like, yeah, that's the only way you can beat us. And I was like, what, dude? Like, why do you always have to say something to me after we win? And he kind of starts going off on me again, being like, how long's it been since you won? I got 2 chips in this game. And then, you know, I can take it, but it's like, man, why are you coming to me? Like, do you have a ring? Do you have an X Games gold medal? Like, how many championships do you have?
I need these two to fight them.
And then he starts saying 1,000 days, 1,000 days, and it's like, cool, man. Like,
it is getting close, though.
It is getting close, and Anaheim's my last chance. But so I get it, and it's just, man, I get why he was upset, and I can get why he was kind of talking disrespectful to me. But it's like, this is now the 2nd time you've done that and try and come at me. It's like, dude, we just beat you. Like, stop. Just shut up, dude. Just shut up.
I'm curious. So I love it because, like, obviously, you know, I've mentioned in the past, like, people come sometimes to watch. Like, that's what they love. Like, they like the rivalries. They like the trash talk. They love that stuff. Like, fans will come and watch because that's why I love it. I view it as like, you guys are my kids fighting again. That's how I see it when I'm up there casting. But what's it like for you, Slasher? When you're sitting there like you just lost and you got teammates and Clay going at it?
I'm a trash talker, so I'm all for it. I just took that one on the chin. I'm waiting till the next time.
He'll let me know. I'm sure.
Yeah, I already, like, eUnited Twitter tweeted something out. I already jabbed him back. I said 1,000 days, Austin / Litico, because they had like a quote, what he said. So I quoted right back. I was like, I'm all for trash talking. I love it. Get involved.
Well, I saw the orgs were getting into a little bit. I was actually with I was at the bar with Burns later. As he's getting the tweets ready. Like, let's go. I'm like, I love this.
I probably would have said something in person too, but I was talking about why we lost it. I didn't even hear what he said.
And it is in-game fun stuff, but he was honestly kind of coming at me like personally, and like it's cool. Like, I get it as a competitor. Yeah, I haven't won this long, but like to be saying like I'm washed up, I get carried, like when's the last time I won, like that kind of thing. That is kind of personal.
I only hear facts.
Nah, that's just.
I think, bro,
that's game
trash
talk.
If you're gonna trash talk, you gotta expect to get it back.
No, I expected it, but not in that sense.
Yeah. To be honest, if I would have heard it, I probably would have popped off. I was mad that we lost, but I was like still like the coolest I've ever been. I was just like, guys, we should have just done this. Like, did we miss our nades that last round? Because I called a perfect counterplay. I called the perfect counterplay for them. We just mistimed our nades by half a second, and they got in B and they ended up winning the round.
I just want to rise a United brawl.
That's what I'll
set up the boxing.
Yeah, I just want you guys to play again.
I was screaming in the back. I'll bring the gloves, but
have you ever had like a big rivalry or anyone that's like really like pushed your buttons? Because I can tell Looney pushes his buttons. I mean, that seems to be very obvious. Is there anyone that's like gotten under your skin really as a player?
Nah, I honestly don't remember the last time I got like that hype. I don't know. We win. It's kind of like good job, good game. I don't know. It doesn't really mean.
Might be a safer way to take it, I guess. But no, I love the passion and stuff, guys. It's always fun. It's always fun. All right. Next question is for Slasher. So this has been something we've talked about on a broadcast a couple of times. You were trying to, what was your degree you were going for again?
Robotic engineering.
Okay, so what was it like trying to complete your degree to build robots whilst being a pro player? Because I remember there were times where like I think it was IW year, where you were like kind of average for your gameplay, then you got out of school and then were like frying immediately after. Like, was it really hard to juggle the two?
Oh, it was impossible. Damn near. Like, I get this question all the time. I still don't know how to answer it. It's just, you have to have really good time management. You have to know when you have to focus on school, when you have to focus on the game. And when I was in school, that's usually when my team suffered and we placed bad, like top 24 at Anaheim, stuff like that. But then as soon as I got out, I devoted all my time to the game and got better. So
I can barely handle a girlfriend, a puppy, Netflix shows, and commentating. I don't know how you did that. I still think it's absolutely unreal.
Really impressive, dude.
Because you're one of the few. Who else was it Cap that was going to school for a while there?
I think he's only went like 2 years.
I think I'm the only one to fully finish
that I can think of. Because it's a lot of time, obviously.
Yeah.
So, hey, props, man.
Thanks.
It's awesome.
Appreciate it.
And hopefully you just keep winning tournaments and you don't have to worry about...
I hope I never have to use the degree now, to be honest.
Right? No, dude, maybe the next title will have some sort of robot. You'll be special with it.
Hey,
I don't know where I'm going.
Black Ops 3 had Cerberus. That's why I want you.
There you go. There you go. There you go. You'll be earning those every game. But no, guys, appreciate you coming on. But I do want to take a look quickly at the Tuesday schedule one more time just to remind you guys, because these matches will be coming up after the episode. I think the big one that stands out to all of us is going to be the eUnited Unilad matchup, with Unilad kind of on the bubble right now. I imagine your win over Rise probably killed them inside. That's probably one they didn't expect you to take. But before we head out, I do have a last stand question, and specifically because you three are on the show, and I think it'll be interesting. You've teamed with Octane, you are Clayster, you're Slasher, and you've teamed with Formal now. Who is the best AR in the past 3.5 years?
Me.
3.5 year includes what? AW?
I think we're including
AW, Black Ops 3,
all the way back to
IW,
Yep.
and now.
So we're going over that whole period.
Oh, wow. It's really hard to say. Like, if you're looking at all those years, probably Austin. Just like if we're going, are we talking about like skill? Are we talking about accomplishments? Are we talking about just what you think personally?
Best player.
Slasher.
Myself.
I think that includes all of it. Clay's going himself. I think you could have made. I think it would have been Formal for me until like obviously how this year's coming.
I think I bring the most to the team out of all the top ARs.
I think it's Austin or Matt.
Austin, I mean, only reason I would even give myself an edge is because of how good I was in AW, but I wasn't even that
AW,
dominant.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. That was the worst part of my school. That's why I was the worst. You were by
Black
far
Ops 3, he was the best. IW, I think Formal probably took it.
Yeah, Formal and Sam took the first half, and then
now
Formal were second half of IW probably.
And then now it's Sam and you now, so
yeah.
I don't know. That's really hard to say.
Well, I just thought it was interesting. We were thinking about. I think Chance actually mentioned it in the green room, and like it would have been, I think without question for me, Formal if we talked like before, obviously, kind of this year because he hasn't seen the same success. But just curious what you guys thought. Hey, again, thanks for coming on, Slash. I think you won that best AR. I'd like to hear about your little feud, and pal, good luck. I guess figuring everything out with the team. I mean, you guys are coming off a rough loss, but you've got a lot of matches to play. It's gonna be exciting to see you guys improve, and that goes for all of you. But that is gonna do it for Hot Mic. Now it is the CWL matches coming up for Division B. Thanks for watching.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Call of Duty World League presented by PlayStation 4. Of course, a fantastic episode there of Hot Mic. But now it's time to get into the games. Benson joined by Revan to kick things off. eUnited versus Unilad. What a game this one could be.
Yeah, of course, a lot on the line here for Unilad. As you know, you heard Maven talk about coming to this one. They're kind of on the bubble. I think for the most part, this is a Unilad team that have exceeded a lot of our expectations, and now this is a chance for them to get the job done. Where it's on the side for eUnited. They obviously are coming fresh off a win against Rise Nation to end the week, so spirits should be high on their side.
Most definitely should. Of course, we'll take a quick look at today's schedule. As we said, we kick things off eUnited versus Unilad. Following that, Optic Gaming in action against Complexity. About halfway through the day, LG versus Mindfreak before fellow Australians Tainted Minds take on Rise Nation. And to close out the day, Mindfreak versus Optic Gaming. You look at the schedule there, Revan. I'm curious to get your thoughts. Obviously, in our pre-show that we did what seemed like an hour ago from here, we kind of looked at the series and we said, realistically, the first game of the day is probably going to be the best game of the day.
Yeah, the first and maybe even the third as well, with Luminosity going up against Mindfreak. Okay. I feel like throughout World War II, those two teams have always played each other close. I mean, lots of game fives between them throughout the year, but you never know. Maybe Mindfreak will come in here and close out some series, and we still don't really know what to expect from Luminosity. They're still trying to find some form, but in regards to the rest of the matches, everything else seems pretty straightforward to me.
Here's a look at the standings coming into this week. It's Optic Gaming sitting at the top, a 90% map win ratio at 3-0. Rise Nation right behind them, as is eUnited and LG make the top 4. It's interesting though, because eUnited, 2-1, they get a big result. I think it was both Joe and Chance made the point on the desk a little bit earlier on. It would be a very eUnited thing to do, to beat the best team in the game, then come up against a bubble team and lose.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the story of this team at times, where they rise to the occasion and they play against the top dogs, able to take games and sometimes even series, and then going up in the next one, you're highlighting it. Maybe there's a chance for for them to fall here against Unilad. And, it's easy to sleep on a team like Unilad, but Weskin's been playing really well, so has Shawnee. I mean, the pieces are starting to come together for this lineup.
And for Unilad, this is a big game because you're trying to get into that top 4. You're trying to make playoffs. If you can beat eUnited, it really just gives you that extra bit of help because, when you expect to see them go up against the likes of Tainted and Mindfreak, this Unilad squad is stacked with talent, it seems, and you expect them to take those results, but it's just about winning against the top 4 teams.